And last of all is Yahoo Sports Read and React. Trending. Gardner Minshew, Matthew Stafford, placed on NFL's COVID-19 reserve list. Matthew Stafford better get better. I don't remember who Gardner Minshew is. I know the name, I just don't remember who he is. European Tour golfer has to take a boat to play his shot. Ooh, my. That sounds like fun. Mets' Yoenis Cespedes doesn't show up for game, opts out of season. Apparently ghosting his team. Paul Feinbaum recalls infamous call-in of late Auburn tree poisoner Harvey Updike. An Auburn tree poisoner? Did Auburn have like a special tree and somebody killed it? That's sad. Drew Brees regrets anthem comments but will stand. Oh, thank God. They made him apologize, but they won't make him kneel. That's good. Good for him for that. Change coming to college football if players have their way. I'm sure it's not all the players. By Jay Busby. As illustrated by Drew Brees. Morning, friends. A full weekend of sports. Been a while since we had that, eh? The NBA and the NHL are humming right along, secure in their bubble. Okay, so we had a full weekend of sports, and you still have to talk about the coming change. You had a whole weekend of fodder to talk about, and this is still what you have to highlight. Fucking Yahoo. The NBA and the NHL are humming right along, secure in their bubbles. NASCAR and golf continue to knock off socially distanced races and tournaments, with few, if any, fans in attendance. Baseball, still teetering on the edge of collapse, nonetheless is playing games, for now at least. Oh, so positive. It's all a run-up to the biggest sport of them all. With all due respect to, well, everything else, football is America's game. The NFL is trying to figure its way to a season, even as more players and coaches test positive or opt out altogether. The more test positive now, the less will be testing positive later when it will be a really bad thing for people to have to sit out for 2 weeks at a time. But college football, played in close contact, played amongst student bodies from all over, played by student athletes who won't see a dime for their risks, faces the most treacherous waters. Hey, that's not entirely true. Playing in college is an investment in your future. It's an investment in the millions of dollars that you can make if you go pro, which you can't do, generally speaking, if you don't get the exposure of playing in college. There is no easy path forward for the sport, and now there's a new wrinkle. Over the weekend, players in the Pac-12 announced their intention to reach a groundbreaking new agreement with their schools, one that goes far beyond the traditional relationship of school and student-athlete. On Sunday, the student-athletes published their goals and intentions in the Players' Tribune under the heading #WeAreUnited. It's a powerful and provocative manifesto. This isn't just about money. This is about so much more. College athletes don't deserve to be paid. They get a free education, goes the traditional argument. It worked a whole lot better before college football became a multi-billion-dollar industry and coaches started banking multi-million-dollar annual salaries on the backs of those unpaid players. But even if you buy, well, maybe there should have been a cap on how much coaches could be paid. But even if you buy if it really is a multi-billion-dollar industry and that's pouring into these schools, the schools, rather than, pay themselves so much and pay their coaches so much, they could have turned around and used that money to lower tuition for students. Wouldn't that have been nice? Wouldn't that have been a good use of all that money? But even if you buy the education is enough argument, it's a hell of a leap to think that players are still getting a good deal this fall by also exposing themselves to uncertain health threats with untested safety protocols in place. Ooh. That's why student athletes are taking this unprecedented moment in history, a moment where they have more strength than they've ever had before, to demand changes in an archaic system. Specifically, the Pac-12 student athletes want safety protections during the panic, a renewed commitment to fighting racial injustice, oh brother, additional fair compensation and economic benefits, a commitment to protect all college sports, and the right to obtain long-term health insurance. Health insurance wouldn't be a bad idea. Normally it's really hard for students to have health insurance, which is why they're usually still on their parents' plans. So, why can't these players be on their parents' plans? I suppose as athletes, as especially football players, maybe their parents have to pay a little bit too much to have them on their plans. That might be an interesting conversation. That's nothing less than a seismic overhaul of the entire college football landscape. And as you'd... Well, when you play football in college and you get hurt, do you actually have to pay the medical bills? I mean, if this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, college football probably should pay the medical bills of their athletes when they get injured on the field. That's nothing less than a seismic overhaul of the entire college football landscape, and as you'd expect, it's not exactly going over well with at least, some of those in power. New Washington State coach Nick Rolovich, for instance, has sought to put distance between the university and Wazoo players who signed on to the We Are United movement. Whether Rolovich cut the players or simply honored their apparent wishes to opt out of the season remained uncertain as of Sunday night. Labor protests during the panic haven't gone over well with Americans buffeted by the economic and emotional turmoil of the last few months. But unlike MLB and NFL players, student athletes aren't getting paid millions of dollars. Their interests aren't protected by any sort of union. In many cases, they're not even getting to enjoy one of the finest perks of being a student athlete. There's no such thing as a big man on virtual campus. About that whole union protecting players' interests, that's not really the case for those lower tier athletes who need the preseason to show their stuff. But I guess the unions don't care about them. The next few weeks will be among the most important in recent college football history. Of all sports, college football might come out of the panic the most changed. The entire financial picture of every athletic department, the whole bowl system, the Power 5 NCAA relationship, all of them could look very different by the time we're out from under the shadow of COVID-19. But it all starts and ends with student athletes. Right now, they have more bargaining power than they've ever had. Why? And many of them are clearly making use of it. College football might not be on just the college's terms any longer. Well, I'm sure there are definitely changes that could be made and probably should be made, such as the money could be redirected to different places where it could do more good than it has been. Why do the players have more bargaining power than they've ever had? Just because institutions are more willing to kowtow at the moment? That's not real power. That can be taken away the second the institutions change their mind. Wetzel. Can MLB save baseball from its own poor planning? Thamel. How a military academy could win the national title this year. That would be cool. Paler. Will any team take a chance on Antonio Brown in 2020? I think there was somebody who was advocating for their team to take him on, but I can't remember who it was. Derek Carr's got skills. Bold new throwing style here from the Raiders quarterback, but we're all in on it. Oh. Okay. Trying to show up Patrick Mahomes, I see. Interesting. Thanks for reading today's issue of Read and React. And that's it for Sundry Sports. Thank you, and goodbye.